Welcome to another episode of Smoke and Ice, where smoke meets sophistication and ice meets intensity. Now, don't be confused, because normally I'd be sitting over there and Wayne would be sitting here. But guess what? He has the week off. So it's just me today. Yay! But you will enjoy. On this episode of Smoke and Ice, we're speaking to someone who you may have seen in newsrooms, on screens, and in stories that have shaped our communities. From Fox News to now a White House correspondent with CBN News, he has given America everything that they need. So sit back, pour a drink, and get ready. Smoke and Ice begins now.
Welcome to Smoke and Ice with Kelly and Wayne. This is the podcast where you're not only informed, but entertained. Sit back, relax, and remember, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you can't chill without ice. Now, here are your hosts, Kelly Allen.
Hi, I'm Kelly Allen. Join me each weekday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for Midday Energy Rush on Positive365.net. I'll bring you all your favorite music from every genre and every decade, plus comedy and positive thoughts all in one place. Go to Positive365.net and you won't be disappointed. That's Positive365.net. We're positively different.
Positively different. Positive 365.
On tonight's episode of Smoke and Ice, we have a veteran journalist and trailblazer who's currently a White House correspondent. He storied a career from anchoring at Fox News, including Fox and Friends Weekend, to reporting embedded during the Iraq War, covering high-stakes trials, and breaking stories that tested the limits of journalism. He's also a recording artist, author, ordained minister, and unwavering storyteller. Get ready for a front row seat to this journey, his faith, and how he's held true to power. Please help me welcome Mr. Kelly Wright. Welcome,
Kelly.
welcome.
How are you?
I am fine. How are you?
Well, you are fine. You look lovely as always. It's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Every time we get a chance to talk to you, I keep thinking we need to start a law firm, Kelly and Kelly, or get back into the studio and record some duets, some old school vintage classic duets, and call it Kelly and Kelly, and boom, let the music roar.
Yes, and we started on that project, and you got busy, but I understand because you are a very, very busy man, and I appreciate everything that you do as a journalist. You're so awesome and so amazing.
Thank you.
So let's get started in all of your amazingness. So you grew up in Southwest DC, raised by a single mom. What was it like back then for you, and how did the environment help shape who you are now?
Okay, so that's a great question. It brings up a lot of different, multiple narratives and feeding into one story about how it all started for me with a single parent mother. So I'll take you into my mother's story because her story is my story. At 16, June Lorraine Overton was growing up in her hometown, her birthplace of Hagerstown, Maryland. And at that tender age of 16, she had befriended the wife of a neighboring pastor. One day while visiting there, I won't get too deep into the details, but what happened ultimately should have never happened. And that is that particular pastor took advantage of my mother sexually assaulting her, raping her. And she really had a dilemma. Who can she tell? Because, at that time, just as it is in today's modern times, it's very difficult for a victim to speak out against someone who victimized them, especially in the case of rape. And so what happened after that, my mother held on to this information, not even telling her own mother, for fear that her mother would become tyrannical and not knowing what her mother would be doing, and very, very precocious for this 16-year-old, and using a lot of wisdom and a lot of strength, and showing the toughness of mind to hold on to this secret. But the secret became a problem, though, Kelly, because she soon discovered that not only has she been raped, but she was impregnated from this rape. Um, and then she was asked a barrage of questions about who's the baby's daddy, who did this to you, you know, your mother saying, I taught you better. And I want to make it clear that my mother was brilliant. She has studied, was planning on becoming a psychiatrist. She also had this incredible voice. So she had a choice of going to college to become a psychiatrist, which is what her first love was, or going into music, which is what her mother wanted her to become, a contralto artist, and going on into professional music. Well, that notwithstanding, she doesn't tell anybody. She's going to school, and people are saying, June, you got knocked up. How could you? You know, what's going to happen to your future? And one time she came home from school and she saw her suitcase in the living room. And she said, she asked, what's the suitcase doing in the living room? What's going on? You know, she's thinking, am I being thrown out of the house? And her mother said, no. I was able to get some funds together along with some of the women that I work for, because at that time, my grandmother was a domestic worker. She had attended Morgan State, got out of Morgan State, and started working as a domestic worker in Hagerstown. But she raised the funds to fly her to Nebraska to have an abortion. And that's what she said to my mother. And you got to know June to know that she was feisty, strong, determined, and she looked at her mother, who ultimately became my grandmother, of course, and said, I'm not going anywhere. God has told me that this is the only child I'm ever going to have biologically. And that was the end of that. And 5 days after her 17th birthday, she gave birth to me. And remember, I said she had longed to become and aspire to become this psychiatrist. Well, she became a very good psychiatrist. She became mine. And she went on to become a very successful men's hairstylist, which ultimately took her to Washington, D.C., and helping to raise me there. And so ultimately, Kelly, what she did, she made a tough decision. When I got into my first year of high school, I was going to one of the top schools in the city, Gonzaga High School, which is just down the street from the United States Capitol in Northwest Washington. And I was mediocre. And I was capable of doing, A average, B average, but I was getting like a D average. She sent me to a Catholic school, just as she did in Washington. That particular Catholic school, St. Maria Goretti, for my first year there, I was the only Black student in that school. And I remember my mother always had a way of dream casting and vision questing. And she said, now look, I'm gonna take you out here. This is the school you're going to go to. You're going to do great. You're the only Black students who are going to be here, but that's not going to bother you because I taught you to respect people for the value of their character and not the color of their skin. And she was right. I went in there and I thrived. And for those 4 years there, I got exposed to doing radio and writing newspaper articles. I was writing articles on the Jackson 5 and Muhammad Ali, Richard Roundtree. You might ask, how did all that happen? Well, it's because, remember, I said Mom was a professional men's hairstylist as well. So she was in touch with all the top radio personalities and television anchors, these successful Black men who looked to me, and one was the actor Robert Hooks, and I was singing and acting in school and wanted to do that professionally. And my mother knew that, Robert Hooks knew that, and they used to say, June, why don't you let us take, Kelvin, which was my real name, but kids were calling me Kelly, so that seemed to stuck. Why don't you let me take Kelly and we'll do some screen testing and things like that? And she said, no, 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 no. We're going to get this boy an education. And so what she did was brilliant. Remember, I said she was my own counselor, my psychiatrist. She started putting the dream in me to aspire for something more than just chasing, musical fame and acclaim. She said, look, communications is a great field for you. You like to talk to people. You have this gift that God's given you, and you can sing as an avocation, but make your main vocation in communications. That opens the doors to television, to radio, to newspapers, magazines, whatever. But think about this. So being the kind of mom she was, she brought in some of the top people in the city to talk to me, because I would go, visit her. She was living in DC while I was out in Hagerstown with my grandmother. And so people like Bobby Bennett, who was at that time the #1 DJ in America in black radio, worked at WOL, which already has a storied history. I grew up listening to Bobby, and then Bobby became like my big brother, inspiring me to look at communications. And then there was Jim Vance, the institution of DC television. Jim Vance was the successful anchor for NBC4 News here in Washington, DC. And he would always say, your mother's right. You should aspire to go into this field. And I'll tell you something, Kelly, I started off as a school teacher. And then when I got into this, it opened up my world to be able to help others.
Yeah. And it sounds like your mother knew from the time that she found out that she was carrying you in her womb of your purpose. God had already given her his plan for your life. And so it's such an amazing thing that she knew that, and she stood, her ground and said, no, this is what I'm going to do. But I hear the Robert Hooks and your mom and everyone who is gearing you and trying to prepare you for something that's more sustainable, because, entertainment is great, but you can go hungry on entertainment. So what was that inspiration to say journalism? Because like you said, you were talking DJs, you were talking to, news anchors, things like that. What was it that said, out of all these things that I've been exposed to, journalism is that thing?
So journalism started actually when I was had gone through college, because I was in radio most of my life, starting at 13. And I was working in radio, just developing, my own kind of program, and always thought I would be in entertainment some kind of way as a DJ, as a radio announcer, with my own shows and R&B or jazz or even rock. I was playing all of the different genres. And when I went to college out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I went to Oral Roberts University, and I was actually doing radio out there as well. I would go to school by day and had my own radio show at night. And back then, all of us had handles for our names. Like I was Killer Kel, out to make you well. And,
Look, I should have thought of that one. No.
Yeah. I was, and so in your research, you probably didn't see that. But yeah, my whole thing was like, and the station call letters is perfect because it worked out. This is Killer Kel on KKUL, out to make you well. Some people wonder why I'm not killer, because to the ladies, I'm an all-time thriller.
I love it. Wow.
That's the kind of nonsense that I was doing. And so I thought the rest of my life would be dedicated to radio and expanding my career through that. But after college, during college, I went into the United States Army, And while I was in the Army, I got attached to a public affairs unit at Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield in Savannah, Georgia, and Fort Stewart, Georgia, which is the largest Army base in the country, or at the time it was. And so once I got attached to that, they were saying, "Oh, well, you're going to work in public affairs, and you can start writing newspaper articles for us for the local paper that we have. And by the way, we do a radio program, and that's radio news. You just need to do 5 minutes of that. And then we have a television program that is a 5 minute cut in during Good Morning America." And so all of that was basically given to me. The command of the 24th Infantry Division there at Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield bestowed this gift upon me, and I didn't earn it. I didn't deserve it. So it's like God was opening up a path for me, and that's how I got involved in journalism. And then remember, I told you how Mom said use your music as an avocation. Well, that led to me doing a story on the Cotton Club in Harlem. And ultimately what happened with that is that I was given the opportunity to headline at the Cotton Club, because the owner of the Cotton Club, John Beatty, knew that I sang. I sang on one of the programs that we had on Channel 9 called 9 Broadcast Plaza back then. And I sang from his Cotton Club because they were celebrating Harlem Days. And he said, Kelly, you got a good voice. Why don't you consider doing a headlining act here, and I'll pay for the band? I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, no, I'm serious. And next thing I knew, I was performing with the Bazant Brothers Orchestra backing me up at the Cotton Club.
Wow.
I mean, the world famous Cotton Club. And it's like, wow, this is quite a moment.
So it sounds like you're well-traveled, definitely well-traveled, and you've been to a lot of places, experienced a lot of things. But I'm wondering how the time that you spent in Washington, D.C. before going off, it has such a unique blend of politics, music, and community pride. How did that influence your voice, and how you went on to influence other people in these other places that you've been?
That's a great question. I have to tell you that the greatest influence on my voice and my development as a singer would still go back to my mother, because in our home, I heard all kinds of music. I heard gospel, James Cleveland, Aretha Franklin Aretha broke the mold when she did that gospel album, Amazing Grace, because everyone said, oh, no, you can't do that. You're going to ruin your career. No one's ready for you to become this, to do this gospel. And she said, no, I'm going to do this. And by that time she had a string of hits, and who could stand in her way? And so when she did it with James Cleveland, it just blew up. In a great way, in a good way. Well, now we have those kinds of things. Some people went on to call it smooth jazz, and others called it serious. But the bottom line is it all started back there in the 70s, which was really, in my opinion, a golden age of music.
Well, taking back just a little bit, your mother was an amazing woman, and she was a strong influence on you. What is one thing that she taught you that to this day you still hold on to?
Faith, unwavering faith in God. And even if I feel shaken by my own failures in my walk with God, to realize that when Christ went to the cross at Calvary, he bled, died, and not only for my past sins, but my present sins and my future sins. And while he hung there on that cross for me, and for you and for everybody else, he had so much love in his heart for us to allow himself to be there in the first place. But he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So that's what I walk with. I walk under this immeasurable grace, this amazing, scandalous grace is what I call it, because of my shortcomings. I mean, Paul the Apostle says in Romans, all of us have fallen short of the glory of God. In other words, we're all imperfect creatures here, loved by a perfect Creator.
Right.
I wouldn't be anywhere without God's grace and mercy and love.
There's something that you said and it resonates with me. I still hear it, and I was playing it back in my head. It was scandalous grace, scandalous grace. And how do you feel about being this kid from DC that had, from the outside looking in, had so much stacked against him, but God, right?
Yeah.
And how you have now been able to have this wonderful career and this voice that you're able to give to those who are unable to do it. You are standing in the gap for those who cannot speak or who cannot report or who cannot teach, right? You're there. So how does that make you feel?
Humble and accountable and responsible. And when I blow it, I have to run to God in prayer and say, Father, forgive me for the sins that I've committed. Keep me on the straight and narrow, and reinvest in me, redeem me, repair me. I'm quick to repent once I realize that I've wounded someone or hurt someone or even hurt myself by making decisions without His guidance, which really leads to falling down. I love the song that Donnie McClurkin sings. We fall down, but we get up. For a saint is just a sinner who fell down, but he didn't stay there. He got up. I've learned to live that way. Because it can be it can look like a pretty package when you look at the exterior of who I am, but like I said, all of us bring some baggage that we created by falling short of the glory of God, and that's turning to the left, turning to the right, rather than keeping our eyes stayed on Him. I hope I'm answering your question. There's just a lot that question brings out in me because of my career and because of what my mother instilled in me and what others have instilled in me, and most importantly, what God has instilled in me, and that's to reach out and touch people right where they are.
And listening to all the interactions that you've had with different people, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what qualities make a great journalist where you can handle that? Because it seems like a heavy burden to carry. What are the qualities that a great journalist has to be able to balance that?
That's a great question. I have to tell you, I don't have a pat answer for that. I feel that every journalist is unique. You go to journalism school 101 and they tell you to be objective. I'm going to be very honest with you. It's very hard for me to be objective when I see children being used as human trafficking. I can't be objective about that. I can't be objective when I see children being violated in any way. I would have to tell you that for me, and I know this will, probably anger some of the people who are hardened journalists. But for me, objectivity, I've always had an issue with it because when I worked in Raleigh, North Carolina, I remember doing some stories on helping children. And remember, I told you that the people who influenced me to get into journalism, they were always actively engaged in caring for members of their community while they were still serving as journalists. But once they left that TV anchor desk or put that microphone down and went into the community, oh, it was game on. I would play basketball with the kids. I'm gonna teach them. I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna role model. I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna bring them into the station to see what happens behind the scenes. I'm going to get into the fabric of their life, because beyond the stories that I tell about their life, I can influence their lives by just being there to actively care. And sometimes in journalism, I'll be honest with you, sometimes in journalism, we become our worst enemies. And this is probably one of the reasons why a lot of people don't trust the media as often as they used to, because they see us playing, editorial games and slanting the news this way, that way, to the left, to the right. For me, Kelly, my journalism, I pray and hope in recent years, has been up and down and out. Let me explain what I mean by that. My faith causes me to look up, bring God within, and not to look down on anyone, but to look out to see how I can reach them through this love that God has given me. So in other words, I like to define myself as a man because of my own shortcomings and not having it all together, but growing each and every day through faith, through my Bible reading, through praying, to be a man who operates with the understanding that I am bringing good news to a bad news world.
I think eliminating the propaganda, eliminating the differences. If you can walk in neutral, like you do, all the time, then all you're doing is telling the truth. There's nothing left in there. There's nothing. There's no dirty laundry to air but the truth. You know what I mean? There's agendas, hidden agendas by, some people sometimes. And I think if that's just eliminated, then I think we'll have some really great, it'll be more about the people and for the people than about someone's ideal.
I like how you said it, by the people and for the people. And I would go one further, to enlighten the people, empower the people, and to lift up the people. We sometimes we have this, and it's just human nature. We have the tendency to tear each other down rather than to build each other up. And I think journalism, activism journalism, can be the kind that builds people up. And from my faith, I want to tell the kind of stories that lift people up and inspire people, encourage them, and empower them to go out and do little things that turn into great things, because those little things that you're doing, little by little, you're helping this person, this community, that community. And before you know it, you've got this wonderful story that's blossoming because you see your community going through a transformation and a renewal that is built rock solid on people being their greatest asset to each other. And that's loving your neighbor as you love yourself, and even loving and praying for your enemies. Because if you love your neighbors as you love yourself, you're going to go out of your way to help each other. Now, we see that a lot in disasters. We see people coming out of the woodwork to help each other. Well, we should apply that same kind of energy when things are going good, to prepare for those moments of adversity. But when we're not going through those moments of adversity, keep building on the goodness that you've established in being a good neighbor.
You've given us coverage of history as it was happening, from Iraq to Baghdad to just so many different things. How was that, and how was that experience of being, I don't know if you were on the front lines or not, but I know you were there. So how was that experience?
It was a remarkable experience, and one that I will never forget. I was covering the war in Iraq at the time for Fox News, and I was stationed in Baghdad. And again, I guess this goes back to my own DNA. Uh, I saw war. I saw things that were heartbreaking. Nick Berg was a young American contractor, got caught by ISIS. At the time, ISIS wasn't a household name. Al Qaeda was a household name, but there was this evil, maniacal, radical guy called Zarqawi, and I had to report on Nick Berg being kidnapped by him and his insurgents, and then I had to watch on closed circuit television him behead Nick Berg. And when I watched it, I couldn't believe how evil an act this was. And I want to spare your podcaster, I mean your audience, but it was heinous to see a man lose his life for just being in Iraq to help the Iraqi people get a better life and be freed from the tyranny of Saddam Hussein. And I watched that beheading, and then I had to report it to the world. And when I left Iraq, I left there saddened because Saddam had just been captured. He was facing trial. I watched the birth of their nation. I was there for the handover of sovereignty. And I felt that we had done a lot of good there, but there was still much work to be done. I watched U.S. soldiers repair schools. I watched them embrace children. I had Iraqi men tell me, "You look like you belong here." I said, "What are you talking about?" Because I'm thinking, how do I look like? Well, you look like us, and if you go to the southern part of Iraq, you'll see. And I went down to the Kuwait border, and yeah, I saw. I said, "Yeah, okay." So, but I'm not staying. I'm going back home.
Right. I completely get it. And you have so many great stories. Like, I mean, this is something where we can sit around a campfire and just keep exchanging stories. But there's one other thing that I want to talk about, because not only are you an amazing journalist, but going back to your performance skills and your singing, My America, the song that you wrote and sung, and did very well. With that, what was the inspiration behind That's My America?
In my America, my children are black, brown, and white. One shade of beautiful, precious in God's sight. In my America, Black Lives Matter. Let's cut the chatter that tears us apart. We are a family, together you and me, agreeing to disagree, living in harmony. The dream that gives hope to us is as strong as it ever was. United we stand, divided we fall. That's my America.
Well, look, I'm a proud American. I love my country. I believe that, you know, this is a great nation. Uh, yeah, we have some issues. What nation doesn't? But there, after traveling the way I have and living on other in other countries as I've done, man, it's really good to come back home to America, and it's really good to see this country that I grew up in and its potential. We haven't. We're only 250 years. Well, we're going to be 250 years old in 2026. We still have I mean, we have so far to go. I wish we'd get beyond our silos. And so that song, My America, was about that. And when I wrote it, I was sitting down with Sonia Yuri Isaacs. Sonia Isaacs Yuri and Jimmy Yuri, her husband. And Jimmy was the Songwriter of the Year, Country Music Songwriter of the Year. Sonia is part of the famous Isaacs family, Southern gospel family that had multiple Grammy nominations. And we're in Nashville, and I said, we really want to write a song about America, this country that all of us love, whether we're black, white, yellow, brown, whatever, and the people coming to this country, why? And so as I wrote it, I started writing In My America, my children are black and white, because I want to deal with the racial thing. One shade of beautiful. That's a God-given lyric. And Sonia's saying, oh, that's good. And so we're writing it down. One shade of beautiful, perfect in God's sight. And then there's another lyric that I wanted to deal with the politics of the land. And I said, in my America, there is no left or right. We're all on common ground. Darkness gives way to light. And the fundamental thing was, we are family. And it wanted to say, we disagree, but living in harmony.
Agreeing
and so
to
I wrote
disagree,
that
yeah.
original song.
I said agreeing to disagree.
Agree to disagree, but still live in harmony. And that's something we have a difficulty in doing. And getting back to the media, a reason why the media isn't always trusted and Congress isn't trusted is because we agree to disagree, and then we are living in acrimony as opposed to living in harmony. And I wanted to change that in the song. So we originally wrote it in its country version. And then after the death of George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, I got with your producer, Devin Wright. I said, I really want to say something about this, because I don't want to take away from the tone and tenor of the song. But I think we also have to really put in there that at this given time in our nation, we do have to say Black Lives Matter and still speak to the heart of, in my America, we are a family.
It has been such a pleasure having you here with me today.
Thanks, Captain.
I am overwhelmed, excited, just all of the stories of courage, of wisdom, of just your upbringing. It was just so very, very refreshing to hear. And I'm so glad that we were able to share you with our viewers today. To my viewers, thank you so much for being here, for walking this journey with us. It's been a pleasure to have you. And remember, let's continue to uplift each other, walk in love, faith, and courage, and everything will be okay. Now I'm gonna get to some business. Make sure you like, subscribe, and tell your friends to watch, because if you don't, then we can't be here. And it's such a pleasure to have you here always. I'm Kelly Allen.
I'm Kelly Wright.
Let's spark something real.
We hope you've enjoyed Smoke and Ice with Kelly and Wayne. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Tell a friend so they too can be informed and entertained. For more information about the show, go to smokeandice.net.